And I understand the limitations of the basic crates.
Oh,
but
sure.
You get that in a lot of survival crafting games.
Yeah.
And then as you unlock more tech, you get access to bigger storage.
Sure,
But sometimes the bigger looking storage is not what it looked like on the inside.
Right.
It's smaller on the inside.
It's smaller on the inside. It's reverse Doctor
In this
Who.
case, in this case, it's smaller on the inside.
So
strap in, folks.
Strap in, because now we're gonna get spicy now.
We're gonna get into the nitty gritty of it now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the bad.
Bad. Where do we start?
At the bad.
Okay, so Alex, I think that you probably wanted to touch on this a little bit too, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the audio. Voice acting and ambient music, and the basic lack of those things entirely.
I didn't realize that there was no real ambient music in the background of the game, because I usually turn that down anyways when I play games, because I watch something on the side. But one of my coworkers is playing it, is the one thing I can't stand is there's no music.
It was really jarring when I first got there, and it's like they open up on the beach, and then you're not actually on the beach, you're way away from the beach when you actually get in there. But then, it's just quiet. There's just nothing. And I was like, what's going on?
Which I get from the basis of, I don't know if a lot of survival crafting games, aside from Minecraft, have a ton of music going on. If you're in the wilderness, it's kind of you hear wilderness sounds, which is okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like a game with the amount of whimsy and humor and style and emotion as Palworld brings to the table could do with at least a light kind of thematic track for the environment you're in.
Does Palworld really not have music in it? I mean, I play with sound on, but I'm trying to think.
Yeah,
I'm really struggling to think right now. I think it does have music. It's just not loot.
When you get into combat, there will be combat music that comes in. But most of the time when you are in the game, there will be a few little background sounds. And I do have to even say, some of the Foley work that's there, I was like, I was in one of the caves, and you hear the dripping of the water, and it's like bloop, bloop, bloop. Yeah. It's so very tinny and obvious, and I'm like, oh no, the footstep sounds and stuff. It's like, this, I don't know about that, Chief. I don't know about
for the caves, because I've explored a handful of dungeons, I actually don't mind that. I guess while it is bad that they don't have enough audio, music composition, that's something that needs to be worked on. But I don't think that this game absolutely needs it, based on the hours I put in so far. If there was no music in caves, I get it, but you just have the environment of the sounds around you, or maybe something eerie to complement the environment around. I think that would be the hard part for them, if they're not already working on music, is to find the right music that wouldn't drown out the environment in the background, the living area that you're living in, but complement that area. You know, when you play games like Don't Starve, the new day starts, and there's that little music that plays in the beginning when the day starts.
Right.
And then that music fades away, and then there's really no audio, there's no music through that. There's combat music, and then that also fades away.
I think what happened for me is, when I'm talking about the ambient sound and music and everything, I think it's a little jarring, because the game that I had just played before I did that was the remake for Dead Space. And if you're familiar with Dead Space at all, especially with the remake, that game is all about the ambient. It's it's constantly around you, the clanging, the distant screams and everything, and the
Dead Space needs to be.
Yes.
Because it's a horror game.
Right.
And I think that works for a game like that. Having soundscapes like that isn't good for every single game. It's very situational.
Right. It could have just used something more, I think. I like when I started playing Palworld, it just felt very devoid when it came to the actual sound design. It felt very, very sparse. And when you have a world that they've set up that's vibrant like this, I kind of felt like there might be something a little bit more whimsy in it. And then, as I said, it's like lack of voice acting. There is some. There's like mostly that the characters make sounds. Aha! Ooh!
Yeah, that's not a necessary one. That is one of the things that anytime we play a game like that, Crave will say, "I absolutely hate when characters make a sound for every action they do."
Yeah. Or when you open a chest and you hear the little do-do-do-do-do-do, like the Zelda things.
That doesn't bother me. Those little things are fine.
Yeah, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Do some Final Fantasy.
I don't know. I guess I'm not on the same with you two about this. I don't really see that as a bad. It's not necessarily good. I'll give you that, but I don't 100% think it's
huge bad.
It's not huge bad.
It's not a huge negative. Could it have sounds in the background? Yes. Do I think it absolutely needs it? Maybe not. If the music environment plays for a while, especially like maybe in the first quarter of the day, and just fades away, and it just becomes like some background noise that you don't really notice because you're focusing on the environment around you, I think that'd be okay. I don't feel like I necessarily need as much as I enjoy the music of video games.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think I absolutely need, especially with all the I think what it could use more is more sound environments around it. I feel like that's kind of lacking a bit.
Yes.
I think it needs more ambiance of the creatures around you and the sounds, like your cave tripping,
or the waterfalls that you're nearby,
or waterfalls, waves lapping up against the shore, things like that. I think if it had more sounds like that, it would be people probably would be more okay with it not having as much music composition.
I think what could make up for that entirely is if they added weather systems into the game.
That would be nice.
That would be a game changer for that game.
Because then it would set different moods. You could also tie different PAL spawn rates to the weather pattern that's going on right now. Sunny weather would be more grass and more fire. Nighttime obviously is currently more dark. Rainy could be more wet and frozen, etc. But tying a weather system in there, which would have to be its own system they'd make, but like if they did that, it would also give them ample soundscapes to go with. It's a hot day, so there's a light breeze. It's a rainy day, so there's thunder and lightning maybe, or there's storms, maybe it's cloudy. Adding in some kind of weather system would make it so you don't really need any music in the game. You can just go with what the active environment sounds like. And I do understand why you wouldn't want to necessarily add ambient animal sounds like birds to the game a whole lot, because let's face it, there are pals, there are not animals, kind of like how we're going to use a comparison, kind of like in Pokemon, there are only Pokemon and there are no non-Pokemon animals.
Right. Yeah, and you'd go and find them. You'd be like, oh, there's a bird sound, I gotta go find.
Yeah, I would say on the environment thing, the problem I have with the environments of the game, and I haven't really explored the hot and cold areas yet. I'm starting to a little bit. I'm working my way in there. But my biggest problem is, and I'm sure that there are type elements, like we all know there's type elements for them, but like the weakness and stuff for the creatures in Palworld. What bothers me the most is you see fire creatures walking in the water, when if that's supposed to be the weakness, you would think that they would, I don't know, maybe avoid swimming in the water.
Right.
Like I think they shouldn't be going in the water, or if they are chasing to the water, they should be trying to like run out of the water.
Yeah.
Or if you have an electric creature walk in the water, maybe he zaps the area. I haven't. That's my big issue. Like I've seen so many of the fire creatures just walk around in the water like it's nothing. Their tail's on fire.
Right.
And what happens when you put fire in water? It extinguishes. You would think that they would knock themselves out by going into the water.
Would be a thing, but I think that a thing to fix that would be one of the things they're working on, which is pathing.
Yeah, pathing
which
itself
for
a lot of stuff.
Yeah, the pathing is an issue too. Like I've sent you screenshots, Alex, of pals in trees, which honestly I think is hilarious. For some of them, it's just like, how did you get up there? You're supposed to be walking on 4 legs. You're a turtle. How did you get to the top of this?
And can I get you
tree?
Down? That's the thing.
It's like, why are you hungry? Where are you, and what happened to incapacitate you?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a pal that looks like it can walk up there, like, one that walks on 2 legs, sure, I can understand why you would see that one sometimes randomly on a tree.
Right.
But not one that has 4 legs.
Yeah.
If a turtle tried to climb that tree, I would think the tree would just get toppled.
Or if you get up there, get down. There's got to be a way to get down if you got
Actually,
up there.
No, they do.
Unless they're cats. If they're the Grintail and they're a cat, they can get up the tree and not come down, and I'll accept that.
No, they do, because I captured the turtle that I saw up there. I think I might have did it on stream, or I did it off stream. But as soon as I attacked it, it made its way down the tree. Like it was just
they're just
stairs or something.
Oh, so they're just being jerks. Just staying up there getting hungry.
I think it's
But it makes great for... I mean, I know we're talking on the bad right now, but... Because I wish I brought this up in the good.
Right.
But it gives me the whole Pokemon Snap vibe. I don't know if either of you two played it, but I sang hundreds of hours into that game when it originally came out.
So
I got very good at taking screenshots in games like this.
Oh, yes.
So it's great to see these issues. And I sent Alex this as well. I sent it to you as well for the video. But there was a boulder that I found. Half of its face was missing.
Yep. Yeah.
I've seen trees. I don't think I took screenshots of them. I have to go dig. There are trees that are not connected to the ground. I can see underneath the tree if it's high enough, and I can run under it with clearance.
Yeah. Those are, I think, terrain tearing issues.
Yeah.
And where you're playing on a server.
But it's the same. It would be the same world. Because it's not procedurally generated worlds.
No, it's definitely the same world. It's not a procedural world. All of us are playing on the same world. I'm 99% sure of that.
Yes.
But where you're playing on a server, you have a different allocation of what's going on for the memory. So if there's a bunch of people on the server, I feel like that'll possibly impact that as well, more than it would impact if we're playing solo.
Yeah, I could see that. I'm sure you both have noticed this. If you look up at the sky, you can see the seam that connects the 2 sections of the sky together.
That's okay. I don't look at the sky.
I just think they should just add a big zipper at it at this point, and one day,
Yeah, just and you know what comes through it? The moon from Majora's Mask comes through.
Oh no!
Miss me.
Not really.
That'd be a great nod. And very big lawsuit.
I will say that, like, in terms of just technical issues, one of the first things I encountered when I got into one of the caves is, you have all the Syndicate guys, and I'm fighting them, and I'm just doing handheld because I didn't have any weapons or anything at the time, and for a good portion of it, they weren't really attacking me, or they were just running away into a wall. But then they got stuck behind the walls to the point I could not actually...
get stuck behind the walls and in the ceiling.
And
that happens in the overworld too.
Yeah. It does. Then I got stuck inside of a wall one time, and I had to literally respawn because I couldn't get out. I couldn't get back out.
I would say, that is definitely an issue, especially if you base build. So the way my base build is in our second base, I have this section that I built. It's just for decorative purposes, but it's very much hollow on the inside because I surrounded the outside with walls.
Sure. Pals
somehow constantly get stuck in there, and I have to go to the pal box, put them in my inventory, and then drop them back out so that they reset. Because I cannot tell you how many times the small pals get stuck in there, and I go back to the bait, and it goes, "This pal is starving." I'm like, "Gee, I wonder why." Because somehow you phase through a solid wall into the inside of my base. And now you can't get out.
I think that is probably one of the biggest issues that I've noticed with it is just the pathing in general is not the greatest. Is it broken beyond belief? No, it works most of the time pretty well. I want to say, but it is definitely one of the most glaring issues when you're trying to do anything like that, or if you're trying to capture something and it gets stuck in a wall.
I think I'm not a game developer, so I can't say, oh, this is an easy fix. They just got to change a couple of 1s and 0s. I mean, I think they definitely can fix it, and I believe they will. It's just finding that right balance, because if they do it too much, then the pathing will be either janky or it won't be as good, and they won't patrol as much, because you could just stand in your base and watch the wildlife roam around you.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's more just a collision detection thing that would need to be worked on. Again, I also am not a game developer.
Okay, you know what? Yeah,
person,
I think that's what I was trying to think of, was collision detection. That, I think that would be huge.
Right.
And that would be really good for them.
We're talking about a lot of technical issues. There are some actual design issues, though, that I wanted to address. One of them is actually those dungeons. Getting back to the dungeons. I thought that the dungeons were kind of confusing to go through, and it was very easy to get lost in them, the way that they designed it. It's not, like, I've been to a few dungeons in some games, and it does seem like they give you some subtle ideas of, like, how to notice where you're going in from the entranceway, that you're actually going down certain areas and into other ones. And in the dungeons in this one, it's mostly like there's an entranceway, and then if you peer around a couple corners, there's like 3 different directions you go in, and then those split off into a few forks, and then you like see, oh, there's a drop-off. You go down the drop-off. It's not the boss. It's just a chest there that you pick up. It's not intuitive for me.
No.
The way that they were designed. Yeah. I don't know if you experienced that, Klayton. I know you've been to quite a few dungeons, but
I do have my issues with it, but I want to hear what Alex's has first before.
My issues is the ADHD means I don't remember which ones I've been in until I go back in them, and I'm like, wait, what's... So my approach when I go in a dungeon is to go, let's take the leftmost door first, or the rightmost door first, and then go around. And then I come back out and I go, wait, which way am I supposed to go? And I go and I'm like, no, that's the wrong door, let's go the other way. And so without having a mini-map in there, it's a lot harder for me to get my direction properly. So that's an issue. I do like that the end of the dungeon after the boss fight has a return to entrance
Thank
thing.
God.
Because that is a quality of life thing that it honestly should have. But I feel like the dungeons need to have a wider variety, either more randomized stuff per different dungeons, although I don't think anything with these is really randomized. I think they're all hand created. So a wider variety to the tile set and to the way they are laid out would be nice. Maybe just a little bit more in them, because it's a couple pals, a couple syndicate thugs usually, at least in the lower level areas that I've been to. I don't know about the level 29 dungeons yet, because I haven't really done those, because I'm still below that level threshold.
Right. Do it.
But I'd like...
Go for it.
I killed a level 31 mammoth earlier at level 24.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
So here's my thing on the dungeons, and I'm gonna go with the good. What I like about the dungeons is that you can get resources early game.
Yes.
That you can't get until you go to certain other areas that have different temperatures. So you can get sulfur in these dungeons. You can get coal in these dungeons. You can get a lot more paldium, which is a lightweight material, so you're not bogging yourself down, because the other 2 resources that I mentioned prior are heavy. Including the iron, the ore.
You just go into a dungeon with a party of Cativa or Lunaris, I think is the one that I have. It has a levitate thing. It lets you carry like 80 extra pounds.
Oh yeah,
at base.
And
a bronze cherry.
My
and
weight...
you just go in there with those.
So my weight on my character is currently at 1,000. That was my goal, to have 1,000 weight. So I wanted, because I am a big time farmer. I don't know if anybody's noticed it. I may have mentioned it once or twice. But I need to have that to be able to just run around, and I can knock out probably 2 ore nodes. I keep calling them copper nodes because they look like copper. And I don't know if they're going to add other metals in the game in the future. Yeah. So I usually use those as a great way to get the paldium, because I use a lot of them when you craft spheres.
You don't even craft spheres anymore.
I still do. I mean, I get them in the world as well, but I craft a bunch of them. I go through them pretty fast.
Oh no, I have a ranch that's got 3 Vixie in it.
Oh, we have that in ours too, but I don't take those. I leave those for other people, because I actually go out and pushing a lot more than them. And that's not a knock on them. It's just
that's how
I know play. I put in more hours. Yeah. That's how I play. But okay, so that's what I enjoy. What I don't enjoy is the dungeons themselves. Yeah. I like and then let me break that down into 2 parts. Visually, I believe the dungeons are very beautiful. The designs, the looks, the colors, great. What I don't like is how damn static they are.
Yes.
If you go into enough different dungeons, and I encourage you to mark them on your map so you know which ones they look like on your icon. There is like different dungeon types, but they're all basically the same rooms. Some have more rooms, some have less rooms. And I like Alex, I start my dungeons from the left. So I go to the left and I go all the way around. I usually don't go back to the entrance because you usually want to get to the boss. I've already seen what I wanted to see. And I got the boss. I either kill the boss or I capture the boss. One of the two. And then I collect the loot and then I leave. And I was like, oh, I'm going to go somewhere else. The dungeon designs themselves, while they're nice, they're too static. I would have thought, depending on the region you go in, it would be more unique looking, in a sense, to that region. Now, I'm only saying that based on what I've experienced. I don't know if dungeons in the fire and the ice zones are any different. But I'm going to go on a limb and say that they're probably the same. Yeah. But I'm only starting out to go into the hot area, which is not going to go make the heat-resistant armor so I can go out there. Because I'm wearing metal armor right now, but I don't have heat armor.
Right.
So, dungeon design needs a lot of work. And I say this based on someone who's been playing World of Warcraft for over 15 years.
Yes.
The dungeons in there change every expansion.
There are very different dungeons each time you go into any dungeon in WoW.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So, and I do believe that there should be maybe a bit more loot in there. And the respawn rate though in these dungeons are pretty good. It's not like you full clear the dungeon. I don't know about the boss. It's not like you full clear the dungeons in Palworld, and then there's no more mobs that'll spawn like in World of Warcraft. Unless you stay there for like, I don't know, 2 hours or something.
Yeah, if you go back into a room.
Yeah, if you go back to a room, there'll be respawns.
Sure.
That actually hits on a point I would like to make from playing their last game, Craftopia. I would like to see more weapon variety, armor variety, and accessories that you can get in this game. There are a bunch of schematics you can get for different hats and stuff, different like variants of the armors you can make, but visually they all look like, aside from the hats, visually the armors all kind of just look the same. And there's not really a big variety of weapons and pickaxes and stuff. Craftopia had a system with suffix and prefix that you could have on any item. So almost like Diablo, but not really quite like Diablo. But you could have a sword that had a prefix that had a legendary Black Knight's sword, for instance, that would have bonuses to certain things, kind of like your pals have their passive abilities. I would like to see that in here. I know the game is much more focused on what the abilities and passives your pals are, but I would like to see armor and weapons in a larger variety as well. I know the company can do it, has done it, so I would like to see some of that come in here.
I think that'd be nice to see in Palworld. We'll see if they do it, because Craftopia and Palworld are 2 different games, so they might be wanting to go with a different approach with this. But I do agree that they need more item types. But again, we're talking about a game that came out 8 days ago. It didn't really access. But so as it stands right now, there's a healthy amount of items. And so some of the schematics you get, you'll find out like, oh, some of these are better than others, especially when you get the rare ones or the legendary ones.
Right. And like with the guns too, because we always, it's like Pokemon with guns. But for you getting the guns, it does take a little while, like down the tech tree to actually get to the guns part of it.
Yeah, I like that actually.
You do.
I like that they don't give it to you right away, because a lot of people thought that you just jump in.
I just need a tease for something. Give me a flintlock or something like somewhat early on.
That's so your one-shot gun.
So but the one-shot gun is like, I need to be level 30 or something.
You know what they should add? You know what would be an interesting weapon that they add would be a slingshot.
See, that's something that you could have early on. You could have slingshot just to get past melee. Melee weapons are so many of the early, before. I mean,
your melee weapon is just either your fist, your bat, the pickaxe, or the axe.
Yeah.
Like your first ranged weapon should be the slingshot before the bow and arrow.
Oh yeah.
Before the
crossbow. Or just chuck rocks at people.
Chuck rocks. Chucking rocks would be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be a great way to knock off a bunch of weight. It'd be a great way to, I have too much weight on me, just start chucking minerals at the creatures.
Another, I don't know if you want to touch more on that, but a different thing that I think needs to get worked on that's a minor hassle for me, workflow.
In what sense?
In the sense that a pal in your base can be assigned to a certain task, but they often like to drop whatever task they're doing to go do something else.
Yeah.
Like eat?
Like help with a different task. Oh, I started building a thing. Why did you stop transporting all those berries?
Why are you not in the breeding ranch? I tried to get like two of my pals to be in there, and then they got bored for a minute, and they just started wandering off and decided to.
I mean, the helping you part makes sense that they do. The wandering off and doing other stuff. I mean, look at it as like going to work. If they take a break because they want to go eat, that's like
breaks are fine. Finish the task you're doing before you do it, please.
Or go back to it. At a certain point.
Please don't drop berries on the ground and go eat and then go do something else.
Yeah.
But I think it would benefit from because you already have the management screen from your PAL box where you can drop them into the slots in your base. I think there should be a workflow screen for your base where you can assign, like, it will know, like, what tasks you have in your base that they can do, and, like, assign them to it. Be like, I need you to do nothing but freeze things. Please go be a cooler and nothing else. I want to be able to assign them single tasks if I want.
So, my way of getting around to that was to specifically have creatures, pals, that do that. Like the little hedgehog dude. I have the ice one. I have a lightning one too, but I have the ice one, and that dude's whole job is to sit in front of the ice box and keep it cool. He doesn't wander off and pick berries, doesn't wander off to water, doesn't wander off to harvest. He'll occasionally wander off to eat and maybe take a nap and enjoy a break. Sure, because the food's going to stay cold but that entire time because the numbers go up drastically if you looked in your fridge.
Oh yeah.
But there is sort of a system in that, like there is a podium stand that you can craft where you can be more demanding of your pals for a faster sanity drain, of course. So you could basically work them to death if you wanted to.
Yeah, you can turn them into actual slaves.
Yeah, but like I think, they do. Like even if you grab one and pick one up and throw it at a task, not even 2 seconds after what they're doing, they're gonna go and be like, I want to eat first. Like, okay. But at least work first and then go eat. Because I just saw what you were doing before, and you were just loafing around and weren't eating.
Right.
I think that they should focus on the task a bit more when they first start doing it before taking a break. Because it feels like, it doesn't, even if you throw them there or they wander there on their own, it feels like they work for a little while and then wander off. It's not like they put in a little bit of time and then wander off.
Yeah, I think even if they didn't create a way that you can just manually assign them to tasks, I feel like you should be able to weight priority of tasks that they do. I know that the Jolt Hog Crisp that you were talking about, that I also have doing the same thing because it's a single task one. We'll just sit at the cooler and just cool, which is fine. But some of these ones that have 2 or 3 skills, or 3 or 4 skills even, but they're good skills, like rank 2. And it's like, alright, I need you just to focus on this one thing. And it kind of wanders off and does something else. Tombat, for instance, has 3 skills at level 2. He's great for all 3 of them. But I don't want him to go over to my stone mine and do that right now. I'm using you primarily as a transporter for me.
Right.
It would be interesting if they could tie them to the traits as well. Like if it was like a logging foreman and you had the logging trait. Okay, well if they had 3 different traits that are ranked 2, it should treat the logging as more of a priority because it's a logging foreman.
Yeah.
You know, or if it's a mining artisan or something like that.
Yeah, I would
for
like,
pals
even
that
if
have
you
multiple skills, I think they should prioritize their higher skill.
I wouldn't even mind if you could go into the where you enhance them and just say, all right, I'm going to make you focus. Like, I want you to prioritize, and I will spend the sphere things on it. Prioritize this task. I would do that. That'd be fine.
That would be interesting, yeah, because there's those essences you can get. It would be nice to see the rare ones, which definitely should be a challenge to get, and you can pump up like a certain trait permanently if you want to.
I don't even care if it pumps the trait up and like a skill level. Like, I don't think that would balance it, being able to like do that. But I think just being able to say, hey, I need you to like be priority, or maybe even get rid of one of their skills. That would be better. Get rid of one of your profession traits.
For too, to like breed out the bad skills.
Oh, that's for the passive traits. I mean the work skills.
The intrinsic work skills. Those are just intrinsic to whatever your pals are. The other things that I had were, I think it's mostly just trappings of survival crafting, but I very much noticed them here. And it has to do with weight and storage. So I know that you have to have weight requirements for like the games like this, but the problem I had was mostly like when you hit something like ore, and it's like it's worth like 8 weight. So like just chipping away at like an ore. I think the big reason why it became an issue for me is because weight expansion is part of your level up system, and there's a lot of other things you can level up. And you start to realize that the majority of your leveling has to be prioritized on just being able to hold on to enough weight that I can take an entire ore, one of these ore nodes, and I can carry it back without getting encumbered. And I feel like that is just a little too much for what they're asking for.
I don't think it's too bad, considering you can just go out with a party of Kativa. If you really wanted to do that, you could just, like, what Crave does is she goes, hey, I'm gonna go mining, I've got my mining party, everyone with me has mining efficiency on them. For her pals. So she mines super fast, and then she also has like a party that's got like increased weight limit. So like if you had 5 Kativa with you, just even at the first level, you'd be adding an extra 250 pounds of weight.
Right.
So there are ways to mitigate that, definitely.
Right.
But there's still issues with that too. But not on your part. More titaniums with the weight limit. If you are on a POW, and I'm going to use the mammoth because I did ride the mammoth because, they're awesome.
Right.
If you're encumbered and I'm on the mammoth, I should no longer be encumbered.
Right.
That thing has the weight of an ungodly tank that does not exist because the U.S. has not developed it yet.
Right. You would think
I should be able to move at a normal speed and not at my encumbered weight. That's also something that is bad and needs to be fixed.
Right.
And it can vary depending on the amount that you're riding. The bigger, stronger it is, the easier it should be to ride back to base at a decent speed while you're not encumbered.
Yeah, I don't think like your wolf should be able to be like, hey, you're over encumbered by 300 pounds, let me carry you back to base.
I mean, the wolf should be able to alleviate a little bit of weight.
Yeah,
but not like 1,000 pounds of weight. 1,000 pounds, because my weight limit is 1,000, so I get that. But if I have 1,000 pound weight limit and I'm at 1,000, I want to be able to mount up on my mammoth and walk to the base and not snail crawl.
Yeah. Right. I think the overall problem though experience in storage is another one, because you have to put down just so many crates to like hold on to stuff and figure out like what did I put into what, and then what the problem I have with it is that with weight and storage is that it occupies a large amount of time to try and mitigate those things. Like figuring out what I have in what storage containers and remember where I put this thing and do
that's what signs are for.
Do that. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's what signs are for. I mean, that's not necessarily an issue for me. I can't say that's a bad. I stock and store a lot of things, so for me, organization is efficient, even if it takes an hour to do it. it's efficient.
Right.
Long term.
So I have a positive and negative on the storage thing.
Sure.
So the positive is that if you're in base, you don't have to grab your supplies from a chest. You can craft at a station just fine. That is huge. I don't want to go take out 100 stone from a chest that I have to find to build something.
I was very happy
Letting
about
me
that.
build and craft without needing to access my inventory is amazing.
Yep.
It needs to be in every survival crafting game.
And that chest doesn't even have to be in the same building you're in.
No, it just has to be somewhere in the base.
It's in the radius of the base.
Yeah.
Right. I will say it's a minor inconvenience having to get new materials for a new base, but only insofar that all my ores at the other base, and I need ingots here now, and I already have a base with ingots. Why are they not here? I understand if you got like an item later that can let you access other inventories, that'd be cool. So that's the positive. I think the negative for me for storage is mostly that I cannot assign certain crates and containers to certain items to prioritize where they go.
And then you look in the crates.
Yes and no. Yes and no. If you wanted a crate to be nothing but ore, you'd have to split the stack to fill all the slots.
Sure, but they will still put ore in other crates around the base.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I would say my issue with some of the storage containers is just the looks of them. Like, I had a bookshelf that I put in, and because you can use it as storage.
Yeah.
But there were only like 8 slots, and that thing, the bookshelf is pretty big.
Oh, sure.
You think it would have like, I don't know, 10 or 15 slots. It's a bookshelf.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, I want to put all the schematics in there.
Mm-hmm. I didn't understand why even the basic crates had like a dog leg number instead of like 2 full rows of whatever the number is. You could just do 2 full rows. Why is it just like it just doesn't make sense?
And I understand the limitations of the basic crates.
Oh,
but
sure.
You get that in a lot of survival crafting games.
Yeah.
And then as you unlock more tech, you get access to bigger storage.
Sure.
But sometimes the bigger looking storage is not what it looked like on the inside.
Right.
It's smaller on the inside.
It's smaller on the inside. It's reverse Doctor
In this
Who.
case, it's smaller on the inside, depending on the storage.
Right.
My issue with the storage when you're building it is that when you're building it, you cannot see how many slots that the item has. You can see how much it costs to build it, but you don't know how much storage space is in there until you build it. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
I would like to see that added as a little tip. Yeah. On a side note, while we're talking about the bad, on a side note, I would like to see a little bit more immersion in terms of that, like the bookshelf. It should look empty until you put items on it. And then it should be like populate what it kind of looks like. If you're putting a bunch of schematics, it should just be filled with a bunch of scrolls in there.
Like you could actually see it on,
yeah, that would be cool. I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily. That'd be a lot more asset work for them, but it would be cool.
It would, and I feel like I would basically make that a low priority. You know, like it can come eventually. I'm not in a rush for something like that. Yeah, right. To me, as someone who likes aesthetically pleasing environments,
sure.
I would like to see them, as I was saying, with the priority storage containers. I would like to be able to say, for instance, food, berries, things, create like that. When I have people farming up berries and wheat, I do not want them to put it in their food trough. I want you to go put that in the refrigerator where it won't go bad.
Well, I mean, either or. Because if they're putting it in the food trough, they're eating the food kind of frequently, so you're not really losing that much food, depending on how much is coming in.
But if it's like eggs and stuff, and I want to use them for crafting recipes, then they go and eat the eggs after they put it in the trough.
So, on that note, side note, they will only eat the first food item in the food dish.
Oh really? Oh, I did not know that. I did not know.
Yeah, so I usually stack berries in it. There's a second base that we built. Yeah, there's a second base that I built in the area that if I go down, it's where the mammoths usually congregate, and has that cat boss and a couple other bosses. But I could probably pick up like maybe close to 1,000 berries if I want to clear that whole area.
Mm-hmm.
I just bring it back to the base and I'm like, y'all got food for a while. I just split the stack between the 2 food troughs, one in the front, one in the back.
I don't like that they put the milk and the wheat and the eggs there because they expire pretty quick. And the other thing is that food goes bad one at a time. I wasn't sure, I had to test it. So if there's a timer and it's running down, it will not take the whole stack, which is nice. It only takes one.
That is really good.
But it's still a little annoying to me as someone who doesn't really care for that mechanic a whole lot. Like, I understand it, but if there was a setting to turn the food degradation down, I would turn it down.
Yeah.
I mean, if an item has like 15 minutes and you have like a stack of 5, that's 15 minutes times 5, because once that one goes, this timer restarts.
Sure.
But if it degrades in the base and the food trough, it's either it does or they eat it. Like, you don't really know because you're already out adventuring and you're bringing more materials back anyway. I think it's... I don't want to say it's necessarily a moot point, but it doesn't feel like it's a game-breaking thing to me.
No,
especially with the amount of resources you can bring back in.
Yeah, I don't think anything that
it's more of an annoyance if I'm spending the time and resources to make this, and it goes bad because somebody put it in a food trough and they're eating all the berries and no one's touched it because they don't have food priority. Even though this one would fill all their food and fix their sanity problem, then it becomes an annoyance.
Alex, you actually reminded me of something too, because you were saying it would be really nice if, like, when you did storage, it would tell you how many slots it has. I need something like that for weapons and armor, where it will tell me what the actual stats for the weapon and armor are before I craft it. I've had times where I was like, oh, maybe I'll have better luck with this weapon, and it's like, oh, the stats on this are worse than the last thing that I had.
Honestly,
or if hats,
if the team does anything like what they did when they updated Craftopia a bunch, if they do anything like that, they will probably add in the suffix and prefix stuff for armor and weapons kind of deal, and we'll fix that because that game didn't have those to begin with. You could only find them like that, but later on they added in the ability to say crafting materials that dropped could have the chance to have different words on them attached, and then crafting with those let you add those into the items.
Right.
I guess I would file this under a bad. The schematics don't get used when you craft with them. You can stack over and over and over again. I got a legendary, early on in the game, I got the legendary bow 4 schematic. It does less damage than the standard crossbow that you can make. The first one. Not 2, 3, or 4 old crossbow. It does less damage than your crossbow. And I still have that schematic in my storage. Like, it should consume the item.
Yeah.
It might be worth money to the vendor, but it's definitely something that should be consumed on use. Because now I have 3 storage units filled with so many different types of schematics.
Yes.
It should either consume it, or it should be you use the schematic and you learn the blueprint.
Yeah.
Or you can just you learn it, or you can install them into the conveyor belts.
Oh, that'd be neat, yeah.
Or you just get like maybe a crafting schematic early on, which is like a bookshelf or something like that, or a scroll shelf, and it just lets you put the scrolls in there, and just like
maybe. No, you know what? I actually like what I said before. It'd be nice, like if you craft the material, with the schematic at a workstation, it should consume it. But if you use it at the conveyor belt for mass production, it should be installed into that conveyor belt and not the workbench.
Got it.
So, like, let's say you put a legendary bow in there. That conveyor belt has been expanded in terms of what it can craft by whatever you install into it, quote unquote, install.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's also another thing I have on my wish list is I want to be able to set up queues on my workbenches, so that I don't have to just do the one item. I can actually say, after you craft this, I want to craft this, this, and this, if I have the resources, so that I don't have to come back afterward and say, okay, you've finally gotten done with all of those, now I'm going to give you the next thing. No. I really want you to craft these things. I need a gun, and then I need the bullets for the gun. And I'm probably going to need the more gunpowder so you can make more of the thing. And I have the resources for it. So
that would be good, but you can also set up multiple conveyor belts at the same time. So you could have one crafting firearms, one crafting ammunition, one crafting the resources to craft those 2 things.
You could.
Then it comes down to okay, you need to pull the gunpowder from this station when it's done and bring it over to this one, so I don't have to do it because I'm busy out in the world.
Right. If
the pals could do that for me, that would be lovely. Or if they could do just a continuous thing, so it's not like I have to come back with more resources and then do that. Like, they could just say, oh, if the resources are available, you just keep crafting this thing. I want this to do this.
Set the task at the workbench. Be like, I need as many of these as you can make.
Keep making omelets. You have the eggs. You keep making the eggs. Keep making the omelets at this station.
Two things on that. One, the queue number that you can set needs to go more than just 10 at a time. Because if you want to make like 1,000 cooked berries so that they can have food for a long time and get more hunger filled out of that, so that they're working more, would be great. The second thing is, I built 2 conveyor belts. One item, one weapon. But the sphere one is on the ground level in the base that I built. The item one is on the second story. If I set stuff in there, the pals don't have the sense of walking up the stairs or walking up a ramp that I built to get up there. I feel like I have to take that down and now put it on the ground level. But when I put the egg incubators on the 3rd floor, they were helping me build it from the floor, outside, in the dirt.
I saw you doing that.
And that goes in again to the pathing that we brought up earlier.
It does.
They don't run into the building to help you. And it's not like my building has doors. I have one door in that building, and it's from my own bedroom, and it has a passcode on it. The entire concept of my build, which you've seen, Alex, is it's open in the front and in the back. So creatures can come in and out at will. And the way I built it looks really nice, so that they can come in and out. It's like this. It's like a wide open door.
What they need to add for building features is a pal door.
That'd be cute. Just to watch the pals come through the.
But I don't know if I want to dragons. Through the little door, and they get stuck. You see their little head get stuck in the door, and then rip the door off.
But I also think that might be what the gates are for, that you can build too.
Maybe.
But it'd be cute. It'd be cute to see like a little pal door for like the little critters to go through.
Yeah.
Honestly, that'd be cute.
That'd be fine. That'd be cool. But yeah, so I mean, those are some of the issues, and I think it's mostly just about just how you're structuring your day, and a lot of these are really just mostly me having to stop and get taken out of like the best parts of the game where you're out there exploring and you're catching stuff. And then I have to go, I gotta manage my inventory, I gotta manage my storage, I gotta set all these tasks and everything. And a lot of that does feel like it can end up being busy work that could be streamlined so much easier with a few changes.
I feel like at the time of recording, being 8 days in after early access release, the fact that these are the things we're nitpicking the game about is actually
pretty good.
A fairly good sign for the game.
It's a good sign. It's a good sign.
I haven't found as many game-breaking things. Like the pal sphere being stuck in your hand and you can't switch to your weapons. That was the only thing. The only other issue I had was one time when I teleported from one place to another, my screen went black. It never loaded in. I had to relaunch the game.
Yeah.
But that's not an uncommon thing. There's other people in my community, for the Twitch Hawaii community, who experienced the same thing. Some experienced it when they were at their weight limit and they were encumbered. They were just wanting to transport the materials from one base to the other because there was a chest right there, and it black screened on them.
Yeah.
You know,
I had one bug when I teleported into my second base. Before we had a lot of like anything there, just the PAL box, because I needed materials. So I teleported in. I guess I had a couple things there, and all the pals that were in that base were suddenly spawned in behind the PAL box, up in the air, and then fell, and all of them became incapacitated. And I was like, "What? Why are they all incapacitated? What just happened?" And they did it again.
To me, I find that very interesting, because if I'm mounted on my dire wolf and I jump from a high place, I take no fall damage. I fully expect that to change in the future.
Yeah.
And they will add fall damage to it.
You take fall damage if you're not mounted.
Yes. And depending on how high you fall, you could take devastating fall damage. I haven't tried to see if I can die from jumping from a really high cliff. I assume that I can. But if I were to jump from that same high peak with my direwolf, I will take 0 fall damage.
Yeah.
And again, that's something I fully expect them to either fix or patch out in the future to that you and your pal will take fall damage.
Yeah. So what I actually did to prevent this is I went and built some foundations that are above the ground, like a good 5, 6, 7 feet above the ground, behind the PAL box, and just that entire area is just a platform now, so now it doesn't happen.
You're just built by the water, so they'll land in the water.
No, then they get stuck in the water. And you have less building area. Anyways,
I think we've griped. But I guess we should probably move on to the ugly, which actually, frankly, doesn't really have to do so much with the game itself and the playing of it, but everything else around it.